Hey guys, coming at you today with a delicious recipe, probably one of my favorite I've created in the last 6 years, an ooey gooey keto salted caramel brookie recipe. So let's get started. Hey everyone, welcome back. If you're new here, thanks for joining me. My name's Alycia. I'm a pastry chef with a sweet tooth, and now I own Sugar Swap Bake Shop, a keto gluten-free bakery. And I'm here to teach you all the tips and tricks on how to make the best keto recipes possible. So if you enjoy my recipes, please hit the subscribe button down there, give the video a thumbs up, leave me comments, and share with all your friends and family. It all helps me bring you new videos every week. Today, the salted caramel brookie. I have created a way to make it so that it's kind of quick for me to make it in the bakery. I prep a lot ahead of time and have stuff ready to go so I can just make a batch when I want to. So I'm going to share with you all the tips and tricks on how to make this fast and efficient. But if you don't want to know all the details and how I figured out this recipe, you can head down to the description box where there is a blog link to the full recipe. So you can just read through the instructions there. And if you don't want to make this recipe yourself, you can get it shipped straight to your door if you're in the continental US. Link to my shop page down in the description box. Now let's get baking another batch of these salted caramel brookies. Now this recipe is pretty involved because it contains 3 separate recipes that I have created in the past. So I'm not going to go into super great detail on each individual recipe because you can always go and watch the videos. I'll link them throughout as we're doing each section here. But I'll mention the tips and tricks that I've learned since recording those videos and tips that pertain to the actual brookie itself. So it starts out with making my cookie dough recipe. In this recipe, I actually created an updated version of my soft and chewy chocolate chip cookie. I believe for Christmas this year, I ended up doing an English toffee chocolate chip cookie. I'm using that recipe and it's enough for 2 whole pans of brookies because a batch of this takes 1 egg. So I wasn't going to cut it in half to only make 1 pan. If you have liquid egg or if you want to just scramble up 1 egg, weigh it out 25 grams, you can do a half batch of this cookie dough. I just always do 2, have them ready for another batch of brownies. I already have 2 sticks of salted butter that are softened in here. I'm going to add 96 grams of a golden Monkfruit Erythritol blend. Should be a half cup. For me, this isn't sweet enough as a cookie anymore. This is my old measurements from when I had more of a keto sweet tooth than I do now. But in combination with caramel and the brownie, it's plenty sweet enough. Plus we're putting chocolate chips on top. And the sweetness level on this whole brownie brookie is good for me. You can have that whisking up while you have your 1 egg you want at room temperature and you want to get your dry ingredients. One reason I upgraded this recipe was to get it lower carb. So all these components added together, it's still only 1 net carb per brownie. We're going to do 1 cup or 80 grams of an unflavored whey protein isolate. It's like weighing, it's much easier. 30 grams or about a 1/4 cup of coconut flour. Oh, it was 30 for once. Just a half teaspoon of xanthan gum, half teaspoon of baking soda, and 1 tablespoon of beef gelatin. That gives you a little bit of chew in my regular cookie recipe. In this recipe, I don't think the texture of the cookie really comes through like as chewy, but I didn't want to mess with the recipe too much. 10 grams or 1 tablespoon. And that's it. Then the only other thing we're adding to this is 2 teaspoons of vanilla extract. So we're making this just like my regular cookie recipe. You're beating this until it's super light and fluffy and a lot of the graininess is gone out of the sweetener. That helps with the cooling effect and the overall texture in the brookie. The only difference is we're not adding chocolate chips directly to the dough. While that's going, you can get 1 9x13 pan lined with a piece of parchment paper and kind of fold it and have it ready to go, and then do a second one to kind of know where our dough has to go for the rectangle we need. You want to stop and scrape down. You're also going to want to get a pan ready to go for the caramel, just like I'm doing here. but you're gonna spray the inside, put the parchment down, spray the parchment again for our caramel layer that we're gonna make. Pretty light and fluffy, I'd say. I didn't whisk these. I want to make sure you got that xanthan gum and baking soda mixed in. Scrape down and mix this real well. You don't want any pockets of butter hanging out. I'm gonna give a good mix by hand. Should be 240 each. Oh, it was 240. A little bit more in here. About 245. Sounds good. Now we gotta roll it out into that rectangle. Now you probably gotta chill these for like 15-20 minutes or so. It'll probably be easier to work with that way. Just to solidify that butter a tiny bit in there. Back when we're ready to roll it out. Okay, we're back. There's about 20 minutes in there. It's kind of solid now. Try to get it into the rectangle first. I got bands on here, but we're not going to use them really. I might need to take them off. Main thing is just trying to get it kind of an even rectangle. So the first time I did this, I put the chocolate chips in it and tried to like pat it into a 9x13 pan. But because of the chocolate chips, I couldn't get like an even layer of dough. So that's why we're not putting the chocolate chips in here. So if you just saw my graham cracker recipe, kind of doing the similar thing here. I shape this dough. You need to go a little bit bigger still, so more towards that side. Obviously, I just want this to look like picture perfect, and I want everyone to have equal amounts of the cookie dough and the caramel and all that stuff on their brownie. So you don't have to be super precise with it, but this does help keep the caramel like in between the layers of brownie and cookie. The thing with refrigerating it is it does just end up getting soft again as you're working with it. As you get it close to the edge, kind of just smooth it out. I think we're just about there. I think we might be a little bit thick down here, so I'm gonna roll it that way. Try and get it a little bit thicker up here. Now, make sure this fits in your 9x13 still. I had that problem with the last couple batches I did. They were like just a little bit too big, and then when you go to put them on, they end up cracking. It's a little bit high in that corner. Say it's about good. Okay, I'm gonna throw this in the freezer. I'm gonna get the other one done, and we're gonna get onto the caramel. Okay, by the time I got the second one done, the first one was pretty solid in that pan already, so I slid that off onto a sheet tray, put the second one into the pan, into the freezer. Now it's time to get my chewy caramel made. So this is one single batch of my keto chewy caramel. I believe the first video I did this in was my Snickers, so I'll link that up there for you. I didn't change anything from this recipe, but I did learn a few things since the first iteration of my caramel video. So we're gonna start out with 160 grams of Allulose, which should be 1 cup. It was 173. I didn't technically level it out all the way, so it might have been 160 if I did. To that, we're just gonna add 2 tablespoons of water, which is an ounce or 28 grams. So since we have a double batch of dough, you can double this also. But you only still put 1 ounce of water in it, and you wanna do it in a bigger pot. So I've learned that cooking allulose in a small pot, you can usually not get it up to reading the temperature that you need it to read in order to be at the right consistency. So a lot of times now, I just go by color and I can smell it caramelizing, like burnt sugar, you can smell it. So if you smell it and it's not reading 350, pull it off. But the smaller pot you use, the less likely you're gonna get up to that 350. I found that to be true when I double recipes and use different size pots down here. In my Butterfinger bar recipe, I used a skillet and I could get it up to 360, 365 without it even caramelizing yet. So your best bet is to go by color on this. I have that just above medium on my stove. There's only a couple ingredients in here, so we can get them together pretty quick while that's going. We need 1 tablespoon of cream, which is 14 grams or half an ounce. 1 teaspoon of vanilla extract, and then 4 tablespoons of salted butter, or 2 ounces. So I already have my pan ready. As soon as we're done with it, we're gonna pour it in here, let it cool for a while. Usually I try to get to like 70 degrees before I put it in the refrigerator, and then I put it into the freezer after that. If you're doubling the recipe, you can weigh out the batch. You have 2 pans like this, around 220 grams for each batch, so divvy it in between the 2 pans. Got my heat-proof spatula. I love these kitchen spatulas. I've ordered and used a lot of spatulas in my life, and these are by far the best. It's what we use in every kitchen pretty much. Let's give it 1 initial stir, get all the sweetener dissolved in there. And if you're gonna be making the brownies right after you're done with this, have out 3 eggs for your brownies. Another thing I've noticed is that if you cook it at a really low temperature, it'll caramelize and change color before the temperature even goes up on the allulose. So I definitely suggest a little bit above medium to cook your allulose syrup. Just turned it up a tiny bit more. Usually I'm multitasking, so I usually keep it a little bit lower, but because everything's ready to go, because it's such a thin layer on this pot, it should get up to 350. I'm gonna be coming out with a video all about allulose and what I've learned. So hit the bell icon so you get notified when I do new videos if you wanna know everything I've learned and all about allulose. There's wafts of smoke, starting to get deep amber color. It's almost there. There we go. You can kind of smell it burning now. Careful, this is really hot. Once most of the butter's melted, it should start getting thick and solidifying pretty quick. So once it stops bubbling and it's pretty cohesive mixture, you can pour it into the pan. And then the important part here is if you have a level surface, because if you don't, it's gonna be really hard to get a level caramel layer. Should get all the way into the corners. Once I got it like that, I kind of make sure it's over to all the sides. Ooey gooey flowy caramel. And then try to get it as even as possible. Set it on your most even surface possible and let it cool to room temperature. And those are the 2 hardest components of this ooey gooey salted caramel brookie. Now the last little tidbit before we get onto the brownie is if you want them to look exactly like my salted caramel brookies, I did chocolate chunks on top. I just think they look more aesthetically pleasing than chips. Problem is I used to use Lily's chocolate bars. And since they changed their formula and ingredients, I don't buy them anymore. I'm like, great, I don't have a chocolate bar I can use to make like chocolate chunks. And I'm like, wait a minute, I can just make my own. But I figured out the easiest way to do it to make a bunch of chocolate chunks at once. I set my oven to 325. If you want to just make a small amount, I lined this small 8x4 loaf pan with parchment paper, put 4 ounces of dark chocolate chips in the bottom, threw it in the 325-degree oven with the door cracked for 4 minutes. And I rotated after 2 minutes and pulled it out once all the chips were nicely melted but not like super hot. And then I used an offset spatula to kind of spread it out, let it chill, harden back up, and then chopped them into chunks. Just keep an eye on them depending on your oven and stuff like that. You don't want it to get too hot. So I do 1.5 ounces of chocolate chunks on top of the cookie dough before it goes into the oven. Now onto the brownie. I adjusted these measurements quite a few times. It's not a full batch of brownies. I tried it with a half batch and it wasn't quite big enough for me. Upon weighing them, they're kind of big compared to my other brownies, but it's fine. I also altered the sweetener a tad bit. And the only other difference is we're adding a little bit of caramel extract to the brownie. So we're gonna start with 6 ounces of softened salted butter, which is basically a stick and a half or 170 grams. To that, we're adding a half cup of allulose or 80 grams, 72 grams of powdered Monkfruit Erythritol. It'll be about a half cup. All depends on the grind. I started grinding my own for just use in recipes themselves because the So Nourished powdered Monkfruit Erythritol has been out of stock. I use powdered in all of my brownie recipes, and I got 6 different kinds of brownies. I could not fathom buying Locanto powdered, so I'm saving Locanto powdered for things that I actually need powdered, like buttercreams and coating on cookies and stuff like that. You want to beat that until it's light and fluffy. While that's going, you can get all your dry ingredients. I'm just using the same bowl I use for my cookies. 40 grams of a chocolate whey protein powder. Should be a half cup. Nope. Unflavored whey is different than the flavored ones. So it's a quarter cup plus 2 tablespoons-ish. I have used Perfect Keto. I've heard Quest protein is good. And if you use Keto Chow, do not put any xanthan gum at all in it. And it might still be too thick of a batter with using 40 grams of Keto Chow in here. So 20 grams of coconut flour, and then 32 grams of cocoa powder. So quarter cup plus 1 tablespoon and 1 teaspoon. That's what happens when you cut recipes down. They end up being weird numbers. Then just a half teaspoon of xanthan gum. Sift and whisk. I'm gonna crack my 3 eggs. And that's it for the ingredients. I'm gonna get another pan lined with parchment paper for the brownie. So I'm adding 1 teaspoon of caramel extract and a half teaspoon of actually my vanilla paste. Forgot to mention, preheat oven to 350. Whip it just a little bit more, and the eggs, all the dry, getting in the pan. Couple scrapes, get it really well mixed up. Just give one mix by hand. Get it all in the pan. Smells delicious, chocolate and caramel. So what I do to store, like if you're not making the brownies until the next day, once everything is frozen, I didn't have a cookie for this caramel that I made the other day, so I covered it with another piece of parchment. But you can store it together in one sheet. That way, when you go to make it, you can just pull it right out and it'll already be together. You want it kind of stuck to the dough. So make sure, I'd fold your caramel over a little bit, make sure there's dough showing so that there isn't too much caramel that's not covered by dough. The edges are always kind of thin with caramel anyways. Allulose is crazy, like it never freezes solid. Okay, that's ready to go on top of this after we spread it out. I gotta go wash my hands though, because they're all sticky. You want the dough a little bit softened, but not super soft. Give it a little bit of time to warm up. Make sure it's nice and even. Not a lot of batter up top. Okay. Now, for as much of this is out of the way as possible, put that on top of that. And there you go. Sprinkle with your chocolate chunks. And then sea salt. That's it. Okay, so I have it not on convection. This is a convection oven. So I do it for 15 minutes at 350, and then I turn it to convection and give it 4 to 5 minutes just to get the cookie on top golden brown, because otherwise it stays kind of pale. But I mean, it still tastes delicious. It's completely cooked. I just like it a little bit brown on top. So popping this in for, I'll do 8 minutes, turn it 7 minutes, and then turn it to convect. Okay, it's been going 15 minutes. I gotta cancel, convect, 350, start. That's what it looks like now. And that's just gonna brown the top a little bit. Give it a turn here. 2 more minutes. Okay, so it's been baking for a total of 19 minutes, but those 4 minutes were convect at 350. So that's like 375 in a regular oven. You may need to go a little bit more in your regular oven. It's gonna be kind of hard to gauge the doneness. It probably is still gonna be mushy, real soft in the middle, no matter what, because of the allulose. But this is what it looks like with having that convect on. It gets it nice and golden brown on top. It is really soft in the middle. I did temp check it. It is over 165. So if it is mushy, it's not technically raw. It's just from the allulose and the amount of moisture it keeps, which is good for brownies because it makes it nice and dense, fudginess inside. These gotta cool pretty much to room temperature before we can touch them. I might even throw it in the refrigerator for a little bit, just because it's gonna be hard to cut when they're not like refrigerator cold, but they're best when they're warm for sure. If you want them to look real nice, you gotta chill them and then reheat them. But if you don't care about that, and you just wanna cut it right in the pan, just wait until they're like room temperature, or at least a little bit cool. So we'll be back when it's time to slice those up and give them a taste. So excited. Okay, I'm impatient. So it's been in the refrigerator since it was kind of almost room temperature. Oh, looks good. Usually with my brownies, I try to, ooh, so you got that caramel in there. Slice it in half first. Then in half again. Oh, it's still gooey inside. They're a little bit messy, but they are well worth it. Looks so good. Got pockets of caramel in there. Oh, that's a lot of caramel there. Yeah. The caramel definitely cooks in more along the edges, because obviously the edges cook more than the middle does, but it's all still in there. It's just soaked into the brownie. Yay! I'm a middle piece person. I know there's people that love the edges, but I'm definitely a middle. I like it ooey gooey and super soft and mushy. But you get that little bit, there's definitely a crunch to the top of it. You get that hint of the molten sea salt on top with the caramel and chocolate. It is so good. Definitely crispy on top, that salt in the cookie. The allulose almost makes it like the molten texture inside. Even the parts that aren't gooey. Little pockets. So good. Put up the nutrition facts here. They are pretty high in calories, but it's so good. This can be a dinner. This with a scoop of ice cream, that's my ideal dinner. So I went to pastry school because I like sweets more than food. I would definitely gladly eat this for dinner. Excited to have a bunch more of these. Might need to make some more ice cream. Sweet, dense fudginess with that sweet caramel and crunchy cookie. So good. So I hope you guys enjoy this recipe, and if you don't want to make it, you grab some from Sugar Swap Bake Shop to ship straight to your door. They may be a little bit messy, but they are absolutely delicious. And I bet you can take this recipe and put different layers of things in between the brownie and cookie and make a bunch of different brookies. Let me know your ideas down in the comments below. Don't forget to check out my Amazon shop page. The link will be down in the description box below, along with all the ingredients I used to make these delicious brookies. along with the blog link to the full recipe. Give the video a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe if you haven't already. And as always, I'll be back with many more keto, low-carb, healthy meals, desserts, and snack recipes. Bye guys, happy keto baking!